Hello, Team 7 Blue. We are about to begin reading the Blue Jackal. And before we get started, I want to make sure that everybody has this story opened up in Cami. So, since it's our first time, let me walk you through it. Go to the top here where it says Open With, click on that arrow, and it says Annotate with Cami. If your computer does not say that, then you will need to download the extension. Just please raise your hand now and we will pause the video, get you all set up, and then continue. So once we're able to click on Annotate with Cami, it should open up here and give us the ability to draw lines, to underline things, create a text box, to type some words, and we'll do that at the end of the story. Let me just go back to the beginning here, and I'm going to read the story to you. So the first time around, we're just going to listen to get the gist of the story, and our focus for today is to pay attention to the 5 different parts of plot. Then we'll go back and you will annotate. More about that a little bit later on. Here we go. The Blue Jackal. Near a small village in India was a jungle filled with all kinds of animals. They lived in fear of the mighty lion who ruled over them all. One of the animals in the jungle was a sneaky, lazy jackal named Kukudruma. Instead of hunting with the other members of his pack, Kukudruma preferred to slink into the village and steal food from the humans' gardens and homes and pick through their garbage cans. He knew it was dangerous to go into the village, for if the humans caught him in their gardens, they would pelt him with rocks. Each time he went into the village, he also had to avoid the pack of dogs that lived there, for if they spotted him sneaking among the houses like a thief, they would attack and drive him from the village. But Kukudruma was just too lazy to hunt for himself, and he loved human food too much, so he returned to the village again and again, willing to risk being caught. He especially loved baking day, when the women of the village set their breads and pies on the windowsills to cool. He would snatch a loaf and run into the jungle, hiding in the bushes while he gobbled it down. All in all, Kukudruma was happy, for he had plenty of food and he didn't have to spend tiresome hours hunting for prey. One bright afternoon, while the rest of the jackals were out hunting together, Kukudruma strolled into the village. He was content. The sun was smiling down on the world, and it was baking day. But suddenly, the village dogs spotted him, started howling, and set off after him. Terrified, Kukudruma darted into the nearest house, the house that belonged to the village clothmaker and was filled with tubs of brilliant dyes in every color of the rainbow. In a panic, Kukudruma didn't look where he was going, and splash! He landed in a tub of blue dye. He climbed out of the tub, shook himself, and then looked in the clothmaker's mirror. To his surprise, his fur was as blue as the sky above. "Come out here, you scoundrel," barked the lead dog from outside. "We know you're in there." Kukudruma thought about what the dogs were likely to do to him, sighed, and slowly walked out of the house, for he knew they wouldn't go away until he came out. As he emerged, the village dogs stared at Kukudruma in shock. They had never seen such a brilliant blue creature before, and howling in fear, they turned and ran away. It took a moment for Kukudruma to realize what had happened, but when he did, he quickly came up with a plan. "If the dogs didn't recognize me," he said to himself, "maybe no one else will either. I can go into the jungle and profess to be a king. I can make all the other animals serve me. I'll never have to hunt or steal my own food again." With that, Kukudruma trotted off into the forest, his blue fur shining in the sun like a sapphire. When Kukudruma reached the watering hole where all the animals gathered, the animals gasped in awe. He sat on top of a boulder in a patch of sunlight and did his best to look regal and commanding. The lion, king of the beasts, stepped forward asking, "Who are you and why are you here?" "I've been sent by Lord Sipka's spirit to rule the jungle. You must all obey me and do exactly as I wish." Lord Sipka was an ancient king of the jungle, revered by all the animals. The animals looked at each other in surprise. But I have always been ruler of the jungle, said the lion, and my father and my father's father and his father before him back to Lord Sipka's time. Why should we believe that you are the new ruler and that we must obey you? Well, have you ever seen an animal like me before, lion? Asked Kukudruma. Look at my shining fur and brilliant color. Any fool can see I have been sent by Lord Sipka to rule you. Furthermore, if you don't obey me, Lord Sipka said he'll be very angry and will destroy the jungle and all of you with it. The trees in the jungle shook their branches in terror at the statement. There was a great stir and chattering among the animals. When they finally quieted down, the lion slowly bowed his head, and all the other animals did the same. From that day on, the blue jackal lived a life of complete laziness, commanding the animals to hunt for him and steal food for him every day. Only one thing worried Kukudruma. He feared that if the other jackals in the jungle saw him, they would recognize him, despite his blue fur. If that happened, the animals would see who he truly was and drive him from the jungle. Being lazy, Kukudruma got tired of ruling all the animals by himself. He decided he needed help. So he made the lion his advisor and the tiger his chamberlain. He named the wolf as the head of security and gave him one job only. You must keep all the jackals out of the jungle, said Kukudruma. They've displeased Lord Sipka and my royal self, and they must be banned. If they come near the jungle, you must drive them away. If you don't, Lord Sipka will be angry. And so the months passed. Kukudrima grew fat from all the food the other animals provided, and he became even more lazy than he had been before he crowned himself king. He spent most of his days napping in the sun outside his den while all the other animals hunted for him. In time, the other animals, especially the lion and the tiger, grumbled about having to hunt for Kukudruma every day. I'm growing thin and weak like a newborn kitten, growled the lion. For after the king eats his fill, there's not enough left for us to eat. But what can we do? Asked the tiger. If we don't hunt for the king, then he will tell Lord Sipka, who will be displeased. The wolf was the only animal who was happy because he spent his days patrolling the edge of the jungle, puffed up with pride at his important job of warding off any jackals who dared approach. One day, the jackals decided to stand up to the wolf and dared to enter the jungle, which looked as angry as the wolf himself. You're not allowed in here, snarled the wolf. You must get back, and if you come in, the king will be displeased, and he will tell Lord Sipka that you have disobeyed his orders. And Lord Sipka will destroy the jungle and all the animals in it. Please let us come back, begged the lead jackal. We miss living in our snug dens, and we miss all of our friends. The wolf bared his fangs, growled, and snapped at the jackals. In fear and confusion, the jackals all began to howl together, making a frightful noise, because there is nothing jackals like more than howling together. Kukudruma, sitting in front of his den with the lion and tiger, heard the commotion and got up to listen. And when he heard the howling, Kukudruma just couldn't help himself. He joined the chorus of howling, just like a regular jackal. The lion and tiger stared in shock. The howling revealed to them that Kukudruma was actually a jackal. All of the animals in the jungle were furious at Kukudruma for tricking them. The wolf, followed by the pack of jackals, came running to investigate. When he realized that he had been duped along with the other animals, the wolf stared, snarling, and snapped at Kukudruma. And the lion, tiger, and the other jackals were right behind him, roaring and howling in anger. Leave this jungle at once, roared the lion, and don't ever come back. If we catch you here, we will tear you to pieces. All of the other animals chased Kukudruma through the jungle to the edge of the river, and Kukudruma had no choice but to jump into the water to escape. As he swam across, the blue dye and the fur washed away, and he was once again simply a normal jackal. From that day forward, Kukudruma was banned from the jungle. He once again had to hunt for himself and sneak into the village to get food. Every time he went to the village, he had to be sure to avoid the dogs because they had heard about his trick and were angry that they had been fooled too. Each time they got caught in the village, they would torment Kukudruma and chase him away. Kukudruma spent the rest of his life living alone on the edge of the jungle. He became a mere shadow. At night, he would hear the howling of the other jackals and cry himself to sleep. For even more than being king, he missed the company of the other animals he had enjoyed in the old days.